Hello everyone, it's Sarah from Crafty Creatures, here with your Firebird painting. We're going to need a canvas panel, our pencil, some paints, and our little paint strip as well. Also be using our gold paint for this painting. We'll need our paintbrushes, something to wash our paintbrushes in, and something to mix colors on. You can use the paper plates we sent you, or you can use something else if you have like a palette. So first things first, we're going to have our canvas panel portrait, so taller than it is wide. We're going to start very lightly drawing in our bird. So we want to start with a nice kind of long S shape, and we'll kind of build the wings off of that. We want this bird to have very long wings and tail. We're going to show the body, but it's not going to be very detailed. And we're going to show a lot of the neck. Now I based my Firebird off of a peacock, so it has a very long, graceful neck, and it's got these long wings, and this fairly round, compact body. We're going to add a beak to our bird, and we're going to have it holding an apple. So we're going to have a little bit of a stem coming out of a beak, and we'll have the little lower beak kind of underneath that stem. And it's going to cut into the face a little bit. Make sure that neck is nice and graceful. Now by sketching light we can fix things if we don't like them or if we make a mistake. We're also going to add some longer feathers on the top. This is called the crest. I'm just fixing my neck a little bit because I wasn't too happy with it. I'm also going to add in an eye. Now we're going to have kind of an outline around the eye and then the eye itself. Birds have a little bit of skin around their eye that we can see where there's not feathers. And just adding that in will just help make our bird look a little bit more lifelike. You can darken up your pencil lines a little bit. You don't want to make them too dark. I'm drawing a little bit darker just so you guys can see it, because our pencil lines can show through some of our paint colors. So now that it's time to paint, we're going to grab some really big globs of blue and we're going to mix in a little bit of black at a time till we get a nice dark blue. We don't want it too dark because then it can look kind of bland and it'll look a little bit too closer to the black and it can go kind of gray. So we want to make sure we still have a bit of blue in there. And we're going to start painting in all the background around our bird. Now we have to be very careful. We want to avoid going over the lines of our bird as much as possible because this is a very dark color and it will show up under our yellow paint. You can also use your little brush for some of the smaller spots. If you do go over, just kind of cut in a little bit so that it looks more consistent. Then you're going to wash your paintbrush super well. We want to make sure we get all of that dark color out of those bristles. Now it's time to start painting our bird. So we're going to start with painting our bird yellow. We're going to start at the top of the head. And what we want to do is we want to paint in the head, the neck, a good part of the upper half of the body, and the upper half of the wings. Now try to avoid touching the edges like I just did there because some of that paint on the background might still be wet. You can also let your painting dry and come back to this step once your background is dried. It's up to you. When we are painting our bird, we want to work fairly quickly because we are going to do some color blending. So we want to have our yellow paint fairly wet when we go on to our next step. A little trick, try to keep the brush strokes going in the same direction as much as you can, and as well as keep them going in the direction of the object. So you know, on my neck, my brush strokes were all going down the shape of the neck. On my body here, they're going down towards the tail, and on my wings, for the most part, I'm trying to feather them downwards. So while our yellow paint is still wet, we're going to switch to orange. You don't even need to wash your brush, you can just switch straight to. And we're going to blend that into our yellow by feathering up and down using nice little short brush strokes. This is going to create a really nice transition from the yellow to the orange. It helps create that nice fire effect that we're going for. You can also go over the edges with some fresh yellow to touch up any areas or make them lighter. And then we're going to switch to red, and again we're going to feather up into the orange. And we'll kind of fill in the remaining bit of our bird. So we want it to be mostly yellow, about a third orange, and then a third red. And again, we can do some blending by cleaning our paintbrush and going over it with some fresh orange, or even just using a clean, damp paintbrush to blend the edge of the red to the orange. I'm leaving mine as is because I like that look. And I'm going to take my little paintbrush and I'm going to start painting in the crest. Those are those nice top feathers. And I'm going to give them a little bit of a red cap. Going to kind of blend them in just a little bit. I want to leave a little bit of the line here just for some added detail. I'm also going to give them a little dot of purple on the tops. That's a little bonus step. If you don't want to add that, you don't have to. And I'm just going to touch up some spots here with the yellow. Now we're going to give a little bit of an orange line along the wings and some little spots along the neck just to give it some detail. You want to think of, where the body overlaps the wings. That's where we'll add some of the orange line. You can also feather in some skinny lines of red into the orange. Again, we're just adding in some details into the color. Now for a bonus, we can do that with a bit of purple along just the bottoms of the wings of the tail. Again, it's just kind of adding some little bit of bonus detail. Then we're going to fill in the beak with red, and we're going to fill in a little outline of skin around the eye with red as well. I'm going to connect them to the beak just because I kind of made it a bit too big. Now it kind of looks like I did it on purpose. We'll fill in the stem of our apple with brown, and we'll fill in our apple with the gold paint. Now the gold can be a bit patchy, so what you want to do is you want to fill it in with a nice good first coat, and then once it's dried fully, then you can kind of look and see if you need a second coat. If it looks really patchy, there's a lot of white coming through, you might want to add a second coat, but you don't want to add a second coat till it has dried completely. Otherwise, the metallic sheen isn't going to look as nice. Now let's use the small brush and the black paint just to fill in the eye. And then we're actually going to use the wrong end of the paintbrush to add a little dot of white to that eye as well, just to give it some life. And then we can give some stars in the background just by dipping and tapping that wrong end of the paintbrush to the background. This is a way of making more controlled stars than splatter painting. That way we don't get any on our bird. And it's just exactly where we want it to be. And that's it for this painting. Good job, everybody. Thanks for painting with me today, and I'll see you next time with a new one. Bye-bye.